morning. I'm very happy to have you. Can you just introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, thank you, and thanks for inviting me. So I'm Sanjeev. I'm a board member at Africa Finance Corporation. Africa Finance Corporation is a Pan-African institution, and we develop and finance large infrastructure projects, industrial parks, power projects, industrial projects, and also mining, oil and gas. So essentially, we look to developing financing solutions for Africa's core industries and core infrastructure.
I was very impressed by the way you were very concrete about all the issues around financing decarbonization in Africa. Why are you so passionate about it?
So I'm passionate firstly because my playground is Africa, right? I make my livelihood out of Africa. I raise money from global sources to come and invest in Africa. I make sure that the work we do provides global investors with a pleasant experience and an acceptable commercial return in Africa. So for me, any global trend that creates additional risks or additional challenges for Africa is something I have to confront, because otherwise Africa as a continent, me as an individual, and the institution I work for will not do justice to itself. Right? So that's what makes me passionate.
Can you tell me what are the issues for Africa as far as financing decarbonization?
So before we talk decarbonization, before we talk climate, before we talk renewable, let us just accept one thing, right? For many reasons, and I'm not getting into blames or historical perspectives on it. For many reasons, the continent is short of development finance. We know that. The continent is short of industrialization, as a result of which the continent is not able to employ its people. And when you don't employ people, when governments don't get higher export earnings, then you can't do the basic things that human beings need. And that's a reality, right? Now you're talking of the climate agenda. The effect of the climate on Africa is known. We are affected by it day in, day out, right? In fact, I like to argue that what the West or the global world talks about as a problem is something we live with every day, right? Because of lack of development over the history of Africa, and also because of the climate changes. So to me, I am very particular that we must talk about the climate agenda, we must talk about the decarbonization agenda in the overall context of the development agenda, because you cannot create green future if you cannot create a future in the first place, right? And Africa, unfortunately, because of the way its structures and legacies are worked, doesn't have huge amounts of domestic capital to work for itself. We are trying to change that. There are pockets of domestic capital that is coming in, but we do need more FDIs, both from the public and the private sector. And which is why my fear is, and I use the word fear with utmost humility, that if we only start talking about carbon footprints, decarbonization, providing funding only for renewable and nothing else, making sure that no fossil fuel industries are ever developed, we will stall, delay, and frustrate Africa's progress. And why I am saying it is something that needs to be contextualized is because we are 20% of the world's humanity. We produce less than 4% of the world's emissions. Our forests provide a natural carbon absorption to the world for which we don't get credit. So
how should we start? By what should we start?
Exactly. So please, I don't want your audience to think that by any stretch of imagination, I'm rejecting the idea of climate change, decarbonization.
It exists.
We need to do it. We are doing it. Africa is source to so much natural energy. Why won't I use it? We are doing it. We have done 1.4.
We are the solution, actually.
Yeah, exactly. But somehow you must look at it from a global context, right? The world needs food security. Africa is the solution to that. The world needs energy security. Africa is a solution to that. The world needs minerals to produce batteries for charging their electrical cars. Those minerals exist in Africa. The world needs new markets. 2 billion people are waiting to be fed, dined, given basic essentials.
How should we start?
Start has to be with us in Africa. Because, they say charity begins at home. and there is never a more truer saying. So within Africa, AFC, the institution I work for, and some other institutions, what are we doing? We are matching domestic capital, domestic policy, which we do a lot of work with global capital. So that when we create projects, it has the benefit of domestic political support, which foreign investors can't create. We have to create for ourselves through policy, legislation, etc. Then we bring in domestic capital to take the early stage development risk, which global investors don't like to take because they don't understand. And once we have developed it, de-risked it, we want to distribute it in a more risk mitigated way. So it creates a win-win. And I'll give you an example. In Gabon, where Gabon, apart from hydrocarbons, always has exported timber, right? But today, Gabon exports all its timber virtually in processed form, in furniture form, and no longer in just
Simple
logs of wood.
yeah.
Now, how did that happen? It happened because we entered into a partnership with the government of Gabon. We built a special economic zone. We built the entire locomotive and logistics network to the hinterland, so the logs of wood could come in bulk. We created drone technology to be able to monitor how trees are being cut, how they are being replanted, so that we look after the future. And then we created a port and a jetty for the finished goods to be exported out. Suddenly, you've created an ecosystem which produces jobs, enhances export earnings, reduces carbon footprint because you are manufacturing at
and it's beneficial
source.
for us, for Africa.
And gives a product that the world needs. We are doing that with cotton in Benin. We are planning to do that with battery minerals in DRC. We are doing it with livestock in Chad, because Chad exports live animals. We are saying, why can't we create a meat processing in that? So it's not about I'm right, you're wrong, you did it, so therefore I'll do it. It's about our common future. What is COP? COP is about a common future. It's not about anything else. But unfortunately, our problems at this stage are not common. Our realities are not common. So therefore, we'll have to take different paths to reach the same destination.
Thank you very much for your insights.